Hello, everyone. I am Julianne Meyer. You are watching Own Your Wellness, and today is a special day for me. Today would have been my brother's 54th birthday. He passed away 9 years ago now. Oh my gosh, it's been such a long time. And it's one of those weird things where I just turned 45, and that's how old he was when he passed away. So it's one of those bittersweet, happy heavenly birthdays, and one of those days where I just want to honor him in the fact that I'm still alive and I'm still kicking. So I'm going to do some living for both of us. And hopefully this you'll be able to see. But this was, me and my brother. You can see him. There's me with my little curly hair when I was a little girl. Anyway, I adored him. I called him, his name was James, and I used to introduce him as my big brother Jamesy when I was a little wee one about that age. So anyway, enough about me and enough about my brother. I'm excited for today's guest. He is absolutely amazing, influential, inspiring, all the fun things that you could possibly say about somebody, motivational, all the things. So before we meet him, I've got a video to introduce him. Let's watch.
Motivational speaker, military veteran Ryan Stream is making headlines today with his positive message.
My message is simple. No matter what happens throughout your life, you have the ability to be resilient and change it. Be kind to everyone. You will have moments throughout your life where you will be the hero and help others succeed throughout their hard times. It's up to you. Life was not always easy. Listen, I slept in a homeless shelter, foster care home, struggled in school. I was adopted. My mother passed away by suicide. I was a drug addict, sued, failed out of college 4 times. But then I started to believe in myself. I started to read books. I started to listen to positive music. And I started to dream of creating music that other people will be able to listen to, and it will help them change their life. Put in the work. I am living the life that I dreamed of. After falling down and standing up multiple times, I promise throughout your life, if you just get back up, if you believe in yourself, you can succeed. I failed in school, failed in college, but I didn't give up and failed my way to an Amazon bestseller. Before I started writing autographs, I started signing my name out of the jail system. But I changed. My friends, I have a family, something that was ripped away from me when I was a child. I know you can do it. No matter what. No matter what. No matter what you are going through. You can do it. You are the author of your story. Change your mind, it will change your life. And write your book. When people don't believe in you, you have to believe in yourself. And you will always go the direction you are facing.
And without further ado, let me introduce you to Ryan Stream. Welcome to the show.
Hey.
So glad to have you.
I appreciate you showing that reel. That got me amped up. Every time I take the stage, I just want to touch one person's life. One person. There was a speaker years ago that touched my life and changed the way I see life. So I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Julie. You're amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Ever since we had our first conversation, I've been looking forward to connecting with you again. I've done some more research and started really following you on Instagram and all those other fun places. But not everybody watching has been stalking you as long as I have. So
Right, good things to be shown.
I'm not outside your window. That's the important thing. I know, right? But anyway, I would love for you to share a bit about yourself and your own wellness journey.
Yo, absolutely. Let's start off. Before I even get into my story, there's a reason why my brothers and I got adopted, right? There's a reason why we ended up in a homeless shelter and foster care. And I don't want to take anything away from my mother. My mother struggled with mental health problems, right? And she never got help. My mother, hopefully I'm not saying too much here, but my mother was raped twice by the age of 12 years old.
Wow.
Both of my mother's parents died by the age of 12 years old. My mother, she spun out of control. My mom found what all of us want, that is acceptance. Mm-hmm. And my mother found that in the wrong crowd. And, my mother met my dad and, he tricked my mom, just like I tricked my wife, like a lot of men trick their women. Like, we're the most amazing people alive. And the truth is we're not. We always have to work on ourselves. But, my dad, he tricked my mom. He promised my mom. He he lied. You know, my dad was a drug addict. He was abusive. He would rip my mother out in the street and beat my mother in front of everybody. He even beat my mother into a coma. You know, my mom was brave. My mom was pretty. My mom, she loaded us up in a car when she woke up from her coma after, you know, she got better, and she drove from East LA is where I was born. She took us to Colorado. When we were in Colorado, my mom didn't have much, you know, a single mother getting government assistance. She did her best. You know, I can remember the hugs from my mom. I can remember her, you know, getting us squirt guns. My mom did the best she could. But unfortunately, my mother made bad choices. And when you make bad choices, the only true freedom we truly have is choice. When she made those bad choices, it affected all of us. Not only her, not only, you know, not her relationship, but, you know, my parents always got arrested in front of us. And I remember my mom got arrested one time, and I always told people around the neighborhood I was a ninja. And, you know, I watched the Ninja Turtles. And so I thought I was strong enough to break my mom out of jail. And I escaped from the babysitter's house, and I ran to the jail, and I knew my mom was in the jail. And I just started to scream as I ran around the jail, "Mom, Mom, I'm here to break you out." And as you could imagine, when my mother saw me, back in the day, they had plexiglass windows with little holes so the air can get through. You know, my mom, she wasn't laughing. She didn't think that my comment of wanting to break her out of jail was funny. My mom cried. Now that I have two beautiful little girls, I know exactly why my mom was crying. My mom realized that the choices she was making affected her family. And now her little boy ran miles down the road, escaping from the babysitter's house and telling her that I'm here to break you out. You know, to make this story short, that time of my life, my mom, she was never able to get on her feet. I remember my mom coming home after she would get beat, going out on dates with a bloody face. And we saw a lot of things as children that we shouldn't see. But my dad came to pick us up, and we drove in the back of a truck. I don't know whose truck it was, family member, stranger, I can't remember. But we drove in that truck all the way to Provo, Utah. And when we got to Provo, Utah, my dad must have lied to my mom because we had nowhere to live. I remember walking around Provo, Utah all day long, taking naps under bridges. My dad being so drunk, so angry, using whatever he was using that he wouldn't even help me put my shoes on. And I would burn my feet on the hot asphalt. And I remember us getting a car, and my brothers and I, we slept in the car at the park. And I remember being so afraid because I remember kicking my dad's chair saying, "Dad, I don't want to be here," because there was homeless people that were sleeping on the other side of the sidewalk. Here in Utah, it's freezing. And there was a family member that said, "Hey, why don't you bring your kids to my house?" And when we got to their house, you know, it was crappy. You know, the carpet was crappy. I remember the running water in the bathroom wasn't, I don't even think it worked at the time. When I went back, it wasn't working. And they said that we could live there, but there was already 4 families living there. So we went behind this crappy house to the garage. When we went to the garage, there was already people living in the garage. So during the wintertime, my brothers and I slept in the shack behind the garage, and space heaters and blankets would warm our cold little bodies. And, you know, I remember seeing my dad on the news, and then the cops came and took him away. And after this, he got out, and we just got in that little car and we drove to Carbon County, and then we slept in a homeless shelter. So once again, the choices that my parents made it so my brothers and I had to beg for food in a homeless shelter as children. And I remember sneaking down the stairs at this homeless shelter. You know, at the homeless shelter, they feed you, but it's not enough. And we would sneak down the stairs, and there would be one lady working in the kitchen on night shift. And as soon as she would turn her back, us boys would run into the kitchen and we would steal pies. And then during the day, we would ask people if they had any food. And I was given one of the 3 best gifts I've ever been given. And when we were walking around the town of Helper, Utah, there was these old men. You know, we'd walk around, "Excuse me, do you have any food? Excuse me, do you have any food?" Right? We were just kids. And so, you know, we were fearless. And I was very brave, and I saw these 2 old men eating boxes of raisins. You know, they both had a box of California raisins. And I walked up to the man, and I said, "Excuse me, can I have some of your raisins?" And, the old man, he grabbed the box and his hands were shaking, and then he lifted the lid, and I thought he was going to put his finger in and give me a few of the raisins. But instead, that man gave me the whole box of raisins, a box of raisins. It didn't matter the heartbroken, the trauma, the abuse, whatever, the drugs that we seen. None of that mattered. What I remembered most at that time was how good it made me feel when somebody did something kind for me. So when that man gave me that box of raisins, that's the very first time in my life where I could feel somebody giving me something that made me feel amazing. It made me feel like I wanted to make everybody feel like that one day. And it was just a box of raisins. My dad got blessed with a job. So we left that town and we went to another town, and again, government assistance. We lived in a broken down apartment, and, there was a man that knocked on the door, and he came with 2 other men. They were missionaries, and they noticed that we were washing our clothes in the bathtub, and, we didn't know how to read. We didn't know how to write. We were long hair, just dirty, messy kids. And this guy, he said, "Hey, why don't you bring your children over to my wife's house? She's a teacher." And so this lady, she would teach me how to write my name. And later in the story, you're going to hear that she became my mother. But
wow.
That man that witnessed us washing our clothes in the bathtub came back with a brand new washer and a dryer. And then for Christmas, they made sure we had Christmas gifts. And, one night my dad got drunk, driving, drugs, whatever it was, that, he started screaming and punching the windows that there are devils and demons inside of our vehicles. And you can imagine me and my brothers in the back, we're screaming and crying. And then the cop gets my dad, puts him on the ground. And once again, me and my brothers, little ninjas, I remember getting out of the back seat of our car, running over to the cop and trying to protect our dad from the police officers. Obviously, we didn't know enough karate. That police officer, he put us back in the car. And then that's the last time I ever got to live with my family. I remember watching that cop car disappear. And then the foster home started, and then one by one, my family's getting separated. And it's hard, man. It's sad. I tell these kids, I've been to war twice. I've done a lot of things. And one thing that I still have a hard time with is being alone. Even on a tour in Pennsylvania, when I get to go to New York and Madison Square Garden, I mean, it doesn't matter where I go, where I get to hang out. I hate being alone. You get on stage and you get in front of thousands of people and you're signing autographs and taking pictures, but nobody realizes after the show, you eat by yourself. You go to your hotel by yourself. So it's a very different life than what people think it is. It's an amazing life, but just because you're the guy on stage or the host of a TV show, it doesn't mean that you're happy all the time and that your life is just amazing. As you know, Julie, we still have our trials and hard times, I guess you can say. But anyways, from the homeless shelter, foster home, there's a police officer that came and took my brother. And there was only 2 of us left. And a couple days later, I remember another cop coming, and I knew, like, he's going to take me away. I'm going to be all by myself. And, the cop knocked on the door, and before he can get anything out of his mouth, we looked on the road, and there was a little boy in the back seat of the cop car, and he was trying to get out. That was my brother.
Oh.
And so we ran as fast as we could, and it's been months since we've seen each other. So we opened up the door and we hugged on each other because we were, we were together again. And the police officer said, "There's a family that wants to take you in." This family had 7 kids already with 36 students going through their house a day. That man that brought over a washer and dryer and that lady that taught me how to write my name, they adopted my whole family.
Wow.
And so we had 11 in my family. And then 2 years later, my mom, she was a mess. My little brother was getting abused. My mom tried, I'm sure, to protect him, but drugs, that life. And, I remember us going to visit my family, and my little brother grabbed his backpack and put it in the car. And we're like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And then we looked and we saw my mom crying. My mother told the Stream family that I will never be able to give my son. Think about this, moms. I will never be able to give my child the life that you have given my other boys. Can you please take my last son with you?
Wow.
My mom, she took her life. My mom's not here no more. I can't imagine what, she went through. And, it's amazing when you get into a dark mindset, how your life can just spiral out of control. And, if you want to know my why, it's to save that one person. If my mom was here, that's why I educate myself so much. That's why I win as many awards as I can, because I want to be the kid, the one with the learning disability, the one that failed all the schools, the one that failed every military school, the one with, the headaches, the head traumas, the learning disability. But I want to show people you could still succeed, even if you had the depression, even if you have the anxiety, even if you had the hard life, you can succeed. And the family that adopted us, they were amazing. I remember getting to their house, right? And they had a big house that you could imagine because all the kids. And, they had a trampoline, and I didn't get a trampoline when I was a little kid. And I'm sure you and your viewers, they remember the WWE and the WCW. You know what I mean? I was the littlest kid. Just so everybody here knows, I'm 5'3.5". I am a little dude. So you can imagine everybody would grab me and slam me, and I didn't even care because I got to jump on a tramp. And then they had a Nintendo. But the second best gift I've ever been given was a brand new pair of clothes and a pair of light up shoes. As you can see, I love stuff that lights up. I remember, I was adopted in the 2nd grade, and I marched my little butt to the bathroom, and I stomped my feet on the floor in the dark, and it lit up. And but just because I got adopted, it didn't mean that life was all happiness. It wasn't. I struggled. Like I said, I had a learning disability. I remember in the 2nd grade going in the bathtub and scrubbing my skin until I was crying because I wanted to be white, because the family that adopted me was white. And, they always made me feel accepted. They did. But I always knew, like, that's not my mom. That's not my dad. And I guess there's a part of me that after this, there was a motivational speaker that came. It had to have been like a week or two later. And the auditorium was full. They bussed all the school district from all of that community. And I felt like he was talking to me. He said, you can do anything, and he played the piano and he sang and he told us to make good choices. And I believed him. And 27 years. "27 years went by. And I played the same piano, sang from the same stage in front of that school district."
I love that. Oh my goodness. I love that. Talk about coming full circle.
Yeah. But nobody sees the whole story, right? They only see what you tell them and what you show them. Your life, most of it's what people don't see. You only let people see what you show them. So success is a very funny thing, right? Because anybody could fake it till you make it, and I don't think I necessarily made it, right? Because once you make it to the top of a hill, it's a scary place, because you're at the top, there's always the bottom, but then there's always higher places to go. So if you want to, this is just me here, if you want to keep out of the depression, and then you always have to progress, because I know I get depressed when I'm not progressing, because we are put here on earth to progress. And when I'm not progressing, I'm sad. And then I think back at that 6-year-old boy, and I think about, am I living the life to make that little guy proud? And am I living the life to make my 70-year-old self proud? And if not, what can I do different to make those two people proud? Such a great experience. And, my parents, they taught me to make good choices. And even though I struggled in school, I was a kid that had to go to school early every day. Geez, man, hang on. I remember when the teacher would ask me to read, I would just get so nervous. I was always the class clown. I don't want to downplay it like I was just this quiet kid. Obviously, I wasn't. But whenever she would call on me to raise my hand, any teacher, I remember I'd just be like, that was just my moment where I was like, oh, crap. And then I'd try to read and everyone would laugh at me and, or, oh, there's Ryan getting extra help. But I always played it off. I was always had the gift of gab and whatnot. But deep down, it always hurt my feelings. I always hid behind a mask. I always had a, how could I say it? I always played it off well, right? But really, when the door was closed, it's like, man, why am I this way? Why can't I be another way? But my parents, they stayed up with me. They helped me. They guided me. I was the homecoming king. I mean, I started winning piano playing contests, and now I could play blindfolded, continue playing with my left hand, flip over on my back without stopping and playing and rapping and country music. And I always thought if I could be famous, and it started when I was young, right? That maybe my real family could see me and maybe they would be upset that they let us go. But I didn't understand as a child that that's not how it works, right?
Yeah.
As I got older, I realized, oh, okay, my parents made bad choices. And, it's amazing that people open up their homes and allow us to live. But, I disobeyed my parents. 2 years after high school, I was a drug addict. I was breaking into apartments to sleep. I failed out of college 4 times before I got a degree. I was $30,000 in court fines, assault on a police officer, pulled over multiple times. I had drugs in my vehicle. And I wanted to change so bad, but it's so hard to change, right? That's why everybody's on this channel. We want to change. We want to better our lives, no matter what it is, our wellness, our physical appearance, our spirituality, whatever it is. Change is hard. That means you got to climb uphill. And you have to do what's hard, right? I mean, doing the same thing over and over again, that's hard because you never progress, but progressing is hard too. And there was a unit going to Afghanistan, and that was my only opportunity. Like, please just let me go with you. And I remember going around to different courts and begging the judges, please let me go. Please let me go. And I had one more court, and I think it was assault on a police officer, a hit and run. It was a pretty big ticket. And I said, Your Honor, there's a unit going to Afghanistan. If you just allow me to just make payments, I will be able to go. And the judge walked off the stand. He gave me a hug, and he said, you can go. You're going to learn more over there than you will ever learn behind bars. Well, about 7 years went by, and I spoke at his judge conference. It's crazy. Life's amazing. Life is just unbelievable. And anyways, there was around 23 of the 32 soldiers I was with that was blown up with an IED.
Oh, wow.
It was a very hard deployment. It was very tough. Sadly, one of them in my unit was killed. And then I came home. I ran into my spouse again. Before I left my first time, I was a drug addict. I know that I had nothing to offer her. But I told her, one day I'm going to take you out. Oh, a year and a half, 2 years went by, and I took her out, And I married her, and then 2-3 months after we got married in like 2 weeks because I was going back to Afghanistan. And after I got home this time, I came home to an 8-month-old baby.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's amazing.
Yeah. I got to meet her for the first time. And, it's, it seems like the Cinderella story, but when I got home, the war's hard. Like, I got served in front of my wife's parents, like 2 months when I got home. And keep in mind, we had to get married quick. So her
Mhm.
parents, I don't think really knew me, right? They knew the guy with
Mhm.
earrings and the bullet bike. And after going to war, I tried to change. And here a month being home, we were living at their house. I got sued.
You got this.
Yeah. And anyways, so we got that taken care of. I didn't have to go to jail. And then, I got a job, and up until 5 years ago, I was working at that job, but I was struggling mentally. I was waking up in the middle of the night. I was looking for enemies in my backyard.
Mhm.
I'd wake up in the middle of the night. I would scare my wife. I would punch holes in the walls. I was just losing it. I was losing it, and she begged me to get help, and I didn't need help. I didn't need help. I got this,
I'm a man.
man. And, I lost my job, and that job right now is making $38 an hour. Really good job. And I was exiting the military because of mental health reasons. And, I didn't think there was any other way. So about 6 years ago, I got in the car after getting fired.
Mhm.
And I had a plan. I've been to the suicide prevention classes. I get it. I did all that crap. That's amazing stuff. I shouldn't say crap. And I had a plan to take my life 4.5 miles outside of Delta, Utah. So I got in the car and I started to go very fast, and I was screaming at the job for just letting me go. I was punching the steering wheel. I had all of our credit cards maxed out. We sold our house and moved into a duplex because buying another house didn't work out. And we wanted to start a real estate empire. And I was behind on my dreams. I was behind on my payments. I just got fired. So then I had to, obviously I didn't do it, right? I didn't do it because I have 2 kids and a wife. And I got home and I remember parking in front of that piece of crap duplex, wondering, how did I get here? Man, I remember getting out of the car and walking up and seeing all the cracks in the sidewalks and thinking life should be better than this. And then I went inside, and my wife can tell something was wrong.
Mhm.
And then I told her, and that's when I broke down. And, that was 6 years ago. Now we own multiple real estate, a franchise. I travel the whole world. I'm an Amazon bestseller. My second book's coming out. My whole mission now is to teach people the 5 steps that I took that not only helped me get to that $0 that day, to 6 figures, to an Amazon bestseller, to doing whatever you want. Your mind is words are magic, and your mind is like the colosseum. And if you're preparing to go into the colosseum, you have to be prepared.
Mhm.
I remember picking up a Dave Ramsey book and reading it, and then How to Be a Millionaire and reading it, and then reading probably, I think it was 54 books that year. And I hate reading, but then I realized that how much gold was inside of books. And then when I started to think positive, I got a job in the coal mine. Where it's wet, cold,
Dark.
miserable. It's dark. And I remember getting that job and being so grateful because I worked in a coal mine right out of high school. I come from a coal mining community. But I remember going back and being so excited to have the job. But when I got there, I seen the coal miners come up from out underground, and everybody's black.
Mhm. Yep.
You're completely black. And I remember saying, why, God? Like, this is it? Like, this is all I can get? But having that job, I was on the weekend schedule, working 3 days a week. Not only did it help me build a career in the speaking, it helped me go to school full time. And it sucked. It was terrible. It was terrible. But I just knew if I could make my 7-year-old self proud of me and my 70-year-old self proud of me, then I'd be living a life that's worth putting my hat on. So I am here today letting everybody that's listening, it doesn't matter what you're going through. Actually, excuse me, it does matter what you're going through. And you need to dig out whatever it is you're going through and then move forward. You have to revisit all of those traumatic experiences, and it's terrible, it's hard, it's tough. But if you can't deal with your past, you can never move forward. But just because you have one bad page doesn't mean you're going to have a bad book. So just dig out the weed and then carry on. Don't live in the past. That's where you get depressed and sad, and don't do that. You know, that's what's amazing about life. Every day is a new day, you know. And when I realized if I planted a seed right now, if I sat there and watched it grow, it's going to be a terrible show. But if I watered it and then planted another seed and watered it and planted multiple seeds, in 5 years, it's the 5-year rule. I read it in a book and I implemented it in my life. And now within 5 years, I'm on Julianne's freaking TV show, you know, like. So anyways, that's a little bit about my life. You know, I probably went on too long. I apologize. I know I have a very unique story, and, you know, honestly, I am grateful and I have a lot of gratitude, and I'm glad that I believe in God, that he thought I would be strong enough to overcome everything I did. And sometimes he puts the load on my shoulders, and, you know, I don't want it there, but now I say, pack it on. I don't know what you're trying to teach me. I don't know what you want me to learn. I don't even know what I need to pray for, but give me whatever it is you think I need, because I can do it. So that's me. That's me.
I love that. On that note, we are going to go to a commercial break. So we're going to be back in just a minute. And when we come back, we are going to continue with Ryan. We're going to talk about where he is now, what he's up to, and all the wonderful things that he is doing to help his one person at a time, because that's a pretty amazing idea and a great way to live your life. So as I mentioned, we'll be back after these messages.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us now, I'm Julianne Meyer. You are watching Own Your Wellness, and today's amazing guest is Ryan Stream. Let's bring him back. Welcome back to the show, Ryan. So glad to have you here.
Yes.
So, first of all, before I ask my question, I just want to acknowledge you for being so open and vulnerable in sharing your story. Because just by showing up and sharing about you, I know that you've made a difference in somebody who's watching their life today. So I just wanted to say thank you, because it doesn't matter if we've done this before or not. It's not the easiest thing to do. So I want to say thank you for sharing your story and yourself with us today. You're very much appreciated.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And during the commercial break, I was thinking about how, you've had countless struggles, countless of things that you've walked through, and a million reasons why a lot of other people may have given up, but you chose to take ownership of yourself, your life, and move forward. Take the necessary steps to create how you want your life to look. And I'd love for you to share a little bit about, because you have your hand in so many different things. And the one through line that I notice is, as long as it's helping somebody and lights you up, then that's life. That's a good life. But I'd love for you to share all the different things that you do.
Julie, really quick, everybody is looking for a leader, and in my leadership, when I speak at the keynotes, corporations, everyone's looking for a leader. Everybody's looking for somebody to teach them, to help them, to guide them. But a lot of times what we don't realize is we're the leaders. You are the avatar of your life. You're the person walking in your shoes. You could lead your way to success, or you could lead your way to struggles and sadness. Like, you are the leader. So that's what I realized, is it's up to me, right? It's up to me to be a success story. So that's when I first realized I needed to change, and, it was music. At first it was like, and this is how I started my speaking career. I like music. When I was a little kid, right, they had a piano, the people that adopted me, and I would just sit down and I would play music. It was my therapy. I realized that music, even in Afghanistan, Kuwait, everywhere I've been, Germany, Kyrgyzstan, everybody listens to music. And it doesn't matter what type of music, even if you don't even understand the words, right? You put music in front of a little kid and they just start bobbing their head, right? Music is powerful. And so I decided to start writing music and starting to rap. And, if you want to talk about, I came from a town of 2,200 people. So when I told people I wanted to be a rapper and a country singer, oh man, you could imagine what people would say to me. But I made it. I did it. And that music has been able to be heard, last time I looked, in 64 countries, millions of views all together on all my social medias. And it's been able to help people because I shoot videos that has an emotional meaning behind it. Every video that I have, if you or your viewers watch the video, as you know, it has a connection, whether it be drug abuse, mental health, or anything. It brings you in and it will make you smile, but then it will make you cry. That's how powerful music is. So I started with the music, and then I started with the speaking. And then when the speaking just, started to move forward, I started to buy houses, and, then we sold houses, and then I bought an ice cream franchise that's going to be opened in June. Yay. And then I started Conquering Your Colosseum. It's a merchandise, but I wanted to build a brand that connects people. So if you see somebody wearing any type of Conquering Your Colosseum gear, it gives you the opportunity to go up to them and ask, what are they conquering? We're all conquering something. Everybody's conquering something, whether it's their mental health, their goals, their schooling, whatever it is, they're conquering something. And then I started doing a course. So my book, Conquering Your Colosseum, was an Amazon bestseller. Not bad for a guy that failed every English class, right? But Now I'm going to be selling a course that's probably going to be out next week. I finished it all. It's being edited, and it's everything you heard today, but all of the steps on how I conquered my life, but even more in depth, because I want somebody to be able to take my course and walk away feeling like I was treated good. He really loves me, and I learned something from this. I have the audio book of this coming out in 2 weeks, and then I have a brand new book my wife and I wrote that's coming out in next month, and it's called "I Feel Like a Giant: 9 Steps to Build Confidence." And anyways, the reason why I do this is because I want to be an example, right? People could hear your words all day long, right, Julie? But when you actually watched me on my social medias, you could see me with my family or doing funny videos or serving, or it's anybody can get on stage and talk about how they're 10 foot tall and they did this and that. But when I tell about myself, I also want to know about you. I want to know other people's stories, because it's the stories that connect us, right? We build relationships based off each other, but what we have gone through, right? If you are able to connect really well with somebody, it's because they opened up to you. They became vulnerable, and every great leader is vulnerable. So that's why I'm not afraid to be vulnerable. I'm not afraid to say, I don't know the answer, because I know people are going to follow your actions, not your words. So if I'm vulnerable, but I live by what I say, then that is going to help me be a better leader. But the best leaders help other people's realize that they are a leader and they can succeed. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm up to right now.
And for those that are watching too, I just want to say that Ryan here he's got a great sense of humor. I can't even tell you how many videos I'll watch over and over again. They make me laugh so hard. It's like silly, quick little things. TikTok is like your medium, but I always catch you on Instagram, and I just like, I think there's this one, it's like, there's so many. I can't even, you got to go check them out, because
did you see the one yesterday?
Is that the mountain one?
Yeah.
Yes, that was so funny.
I know everyone. Yeah, that's funny.
You had me going. At first, I was watching it on mute because I was somewhere and I was like, what's going on?
So I told my wife I was going on a walk, and then I was gone for like 5 hours. So I went on like an 8-mile walk, because it's my walk day, walk day. And I decided to climb to the top of the mountain, which is about 7,000 feet. Wow. So I started climbing up the mountain, and I got up to the top where the huge orange flag is. And I thought it would be funny to act like I was getting chased by a mountain lion or a bear. So I was like, guys, look at this. And then I hurry and showed them, but they couldn't see. And then I started freaking out and running down the hill and screaming, and there was nothing there. I just played a joke on everybody, but people didn't like it, and then of course everyone thought it was funny though. But no matter how sad, angry, whatever, if you see something funny, it's amazing how it can just change your mood. And so I want to be somebody that is funny, somebody that does make other people smile. Because the truth is, Julie, you and I were not always happy, right? No. Being happy is an emotion, right? And emotions come and go. And so if we could just try a little harder to not only be happy, but to make other people happy, I think that's the key. I think that's the biggest key to success, is when you can make other people feel good. That's the key. Real quick, I know I'm going back here, but on that topic, I talked about the 2 best gifts I've ever been given. Remember, it was the box of raisins and it was the pair of light up shoes. But this 3rd gift is my favorite. If I could share it real quick.
Of course.
So when we were in Afghanistan, we were on an observation point. So we would position a truck, and then the rest of our unit would go 10, 15 miles, position another truck. And that's so we could overlook the area, so the Taliban wouldn't put bombs in the road on the way back. At this time, I like to get down and play with the kids, but the Taliban started to strap bombs to the children's bodies. And when the soldiers in my province would open up the vehicle and feed the children, you could imagine what would happen. So they said, Stream, you're no longer allowed to get out of the vehicle. I loved to play with the kids. I did. I loved it. I would beatbox, rap. I told them I was Chris Brown. I'd dance, But when we got this news, it was very hard to take because we really wanted to help the children. The children were starving. The little bit of animals we did see, you could see the bones. The province that I was in, everybody lived in mud houses, or they followed the sheep around, and wherever the sheep grazed, that's where they lived, with sticks with animal skin as the roof. On this observation point, there was a little boy and a little girl that came up to our vehicle, and they wanted food and candy, anything that we can give them. And I told them to get away, get away. I was tired of them, blowing us up, destroying us. And my sergeant said, Stream, throw out a piece of candy to that little child. So I opened up the door, and there was 2 kids, the oldest brother that was about 10 and the little girl that was about 5. So I opened up the door and I threw out a piece of candy. And of course, the boy ran over there and grabbed the piece of candy before his sister. In that country, women have 0 rights, none. We've witnessed a little girls grab piece of candies first because we would throw them to them. But then all of the boys would beat the little girls. They'd grab their hair, they would kick them, and then the dads would just go over there and watch. And because, again, they're treated less than an animal. But on this day, that little boy turned and gave that little candy to his little sister. So we never seen anything like that. So we jumped out of the vehicle and we gave him as much food and candy as that little boy can carry in his man dress. But a couple hours later, just the little boy came back. And he had something behind his back. And he started to get closer and closer to our vehicle. So the gunner put the weapon on the child and fired a pin flare, which is a line of defense. And the little boy, he got scared. He got startled. But the little boy, he was determined. He had what's called a burning desire. And the little boy kept coming. So I pushed record on the camera, because when we would take the little boy's life, we would have probable cause. And the little boy kept coming towards the vehicle, so the gunner put the weapon on the child, and right before he shot, the little boy held up what was behind his back, and it was an egg. The third best gift I've ever been given was an egg. And the little boy, he ran all the way home, and keep in mind, there was nothing. The boy had to have ran 2 hours home and 2 hours to his house and then 2 hours back. And he said in his language, he said, "Thank you. You made a difference." They're really polite over there. "You made a difference to my family." His family was starving, right? They just had a couple chicken eggs. And he told my sergeant that spoke the language that, he was grateful for us. So he gave me that gift. But not only did he give me the egg, the little boy taught me something. And I hope all of your listeners will take this advice. He taught me, no matter how scary it is, no matter during our lives, we're going to have to walk towards complete chaos and just the unknown. And that little boy taught me that a burning desire is what it takes. So when he gave me that egg, I took that egg everywhere with me. And, it lasted probably a couple weeks. But I just wanted to share the story that was the third best gift I've ever been given. And I want people to know that you don't need big gifts. You don't need to do big things. If you don't have an egg to give or a box of raisins, give somebody a smile. Give somebody a compliment. When somebody says something nice about you, it's kind of like, "Oh, hey, I appreciate you noticing," So on our conversation 5 minutes ago on service and being kind, I just wanted to say that third gift because it's such a beautiful story. So anyways, I wanted to get off topic and share that.
No, I'm glad you did. I mean, that was beautiful on so many levels, but even just the idea of things aren't always as they seem, and just, that little kid, that you made such a difference and that he was able to actually make a difference for you as well.
He doesn't even know the impact. Oh my gosh. One more fast story about Afghanistan. I'm so sorry. In my video Cultures, please watch the video. It's an amazing video. There's a family in that video from Afghanistan. I was on other shows just like this. I had people follow my social media. I put out a story about a family of 7 that got caught in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
They got caught in Afghanistan when America pulled out and the Taliban started blowing up his house because he worked for the United States and he went on missions with us. Because of the followers that followed me, we were able to raise money and get his family to safety. So these are amazing. You never know the people that you meet. So I just wanted to share that story that, Julie, you and I connecting, going to connect with all the other people. Like, you never know. You know, the world has an amazing, I don't even know what happens behind the scenes, but it connects people like you and I, and hopefully through the hand of God or the universe or whoever it is we believe in, we could change other people's lives. And that's why I love being on things like this. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. Absolutely. I'm so glad to have you here today. You know, the smile hasn't left my face. I mean, even through the hard stuff, I might have, you know, had some gravity, but it's just that we can become, we can take leadership and ownership of our own lives, no matter where we are, no matter what has happened to us, all of the things that we've been talking about. And it's inspirational. So at the very least, you inspired me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. And we inspire each other. You know, I'm glad that we were able to connect.
Yeah. Well, we have about 1 minute left. So I'm curious if there's any final thoughts that you'd love to share with the audience.
Oh, okay. So when I was breaking into apartments to sleep, I was a complete drug addict. I was at the lowest point of my life. And there was a man that called me and said, Ryan, meet me at this Mexican store. And my gas gauge on the car that the bank was looking for was on empty, complete empty. And I said, I can't get there. And he said, Ryan, just please come. So I went to the Mexican store and I told him I didn't have any food. I can't pay for the food. And he paid for my food. And at the end of the conversation, he reached into his pocket and I knew what he was going to do. He was going to give me money. And he did. He pulled out $100 bill and I screamed out inside of my head, please don't give me that. Please don't give me that. And he reached across the table and gave me the $100 bill. And after our conversation, he told me, Ryan, you just have to pay me back. And I had no idea how I can pay him back. Again, I was $20-something thousand in debt. I went out to my car and I just cried. And I said, I just hope I die. I hope I die. I don't know how I can do this. 2 years later, I pulled up to his house in a brand new car. And he said, Ryan, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm here to pay you back. Well, my friends, even if you don't have a $100 bill, again, an egg, a box of raisins, or some light up shoes, if you just serve and be kind to other people, you never know the impact that you're going to have on somebody's life. So if you have learned anything from me today, learn this. You are the leader in your life because you're the one that's walking in your shoes. 2, kindness allows you to build relationships, and relationships are what gets you paid and what gets you opportunity. Be kind, be the hero that you dreamed of, and make your 7-year-old self proud.
I love that. Ryan, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And everyone, that is all the time that we have. So we will see you again on Thursday, and enjoy the rest of your week.